Hi again, this is Kirsten, and this is the final video in a series I'm doing on birth order. I did first, I did middle, youngest, and this is going to be the final video on that. This is regarding tips, how we get to parent differently and really just implement the certain techniques with the oldest versus the other ones. And there are different things that you can do to really bring out the best in your little one based on where they fall on the spectrum. Okay, so with oldest, and I will say that I have found these to be helpful. My children do carry the traits of the from what you would typically see missed, quote unquote, from the birth order, and so I do use these tips with my own kids, and I find it to be beneficial. So the oldest, Julian, and what I would suggest, encourage you can do with yours is that they get to relax and remind them that it's okay to that your best is good enough and that you don't have to be perfect. So firstborns tend to be perfectionists and they really want to get everything right. They're conscientious, and so they try extra hard, and if they get stuck they can be really hard on themselves. It can create anxiety and depression. So what I do with my 9-year-old, my oldest, and what other parents of older borns could do, should do, probably do, is remind them that it's okay. Your best is good enough. It really is good enough. And if it's not perfect, that's okay, because you know what? We're human and we're not going to be perfect. And just relax into that. Relax, be easygoing in with who you are, and just create that space of self-love and acceptance, that their best is good enough, and perfection is not what we strive for. If we seek perfection, we're going to fall up short. If it happens to occur, wonderful, but that's not the goal. Okay, second, middle, is something with middle. They can be kind of complex, and the mind certainly is complex, but they are, again, often ignored, or they feel underappreciated. And so what they do is they seek those connections outside the home a lot of times. So their older sibling is being groomed, right, for taking over the legacy of the family, or groomed for adulthood. The youngest is possibly getting spoiled, or just they're charming, so they're getting attention in another way. The middle child can get lost in the shuffle. So they're either going to act out, create attention, they're going to be the peacemakers in the family, and or they're going to go outside the family to seek those connections, because that's what we all yearn for, right? Is just to connect deeply with other people. And so what we get to do as parents of middle children is to play with them, is to have play dates, is to have mommy and me time, daddy and me time. So what I do with my 7-year-old Gabriel, who's my middle child, we just played Connect Four this morning, and he loves that. That's like his favorite game. It's not mine. I would much rather play Uno. But we're going to do a game that he enjoys, and I'll coax him into playing one of mine. But we have fun with it. I'll take him to the coffee shop with me, and I'll sip on a coffee. I'll let him have a couple of sips, and we'll just talk about life and things that he finds interesting, and just really connect and have that intimacy that he may see that we're having with his siblings, but he doesn't always get. So I just really make it intentional to spend that time with him, and daddy gets to do that as well. That is huge for middle children, that they feel just as important as their siblings. We know they're just as important, but they don't often feel it. So we get to make it something that is intentional, that we're very cognizant of, and we don't let them get lost in the shuffle. With youngest children, they can be a bit spoiled. They can be bratty. They can try to take, well, not try, but they can be dramatic and take all the attention out of the room. And they can also be passive. So if there's an argument going on, they might sit back. They might actually create the drama, and they'll sit back and let it unfold, and try to stay out of the consequences. So babies, the youngest children, oftentimes are the least likely to get consequences of when something's going wrong. They'll often tattle on their older brother or sister, even if they're not the one doing anything wrong. And parents, if we're not really thinking about it, we fall into the trap of, oh, you're older, so you know better, so your sister or brother get a pass because they're the baby. So what we can do as parents is really look and see, is my baby child, is my youngest being manipulative? What's really going on here? If I didn't see it happen, is it really fair to consequent? Or should we just talk about good choices and bad choices and move on? well, not so good choices and good choices, and move on from there and encourage them to make better choices. I don't necessarily consequence something I'm not seeing happening, right? So if my youngest comes up to me about something and I didn't see it, I didn't hear it, and the other one is adamantly saying no, then we talk about what they could have done differently, what actually did happen. If there's still a discrepancy, I just tell them, this is what you do. No matter what happened, this is what we can do in the future, and let's move on. So the little one knows they can't get away with saying, "Mommy, Gabe did this, and so I'm mad, and so can you consequent him?" Some parents would actually consequent the older child because it's just naturally in our mind we think the youngest child is just innocent. They're the youngest. Why wouldn't they be innocent? Why wouldn't they have pure motives? So we get to be aware of that with the youngest. With the only child, they are often, as I said in the last video, they are like the oldest child. So they are mini adults, they're natural born leaders. They are the highest achievers, more than likely, out of all the type of birth orders. And they do mature very, very quickly, much more quickly than all the other birth orders. So with them, what we get to do and what we should really be cognizant of is remind them to play. And it sounds similar to the oldest, but it's different. Perfectionists want to be, not perfectionists, oldest children want to be perfect. And we just remind them to relax. No matter what you're doing, relax, because they know how to play. They play with their siblings. But with the youngest, with the only child, they don't necessarily have playmates, and they don't have as many playmates for sure as the other birth order. So we remind them to play. It's okay to be a child. You don't have to grow up too quickly. You don't have to take on these adult responsibilities that mommy and daddy has. They grow up in their own time, and you don't want to give them responsibilities too soon, because they'll take them because they spend most of their time around you, and that's just going to be a natural progression unless you are very intentional about, no, you're going to have a play date, you get to do this, you get to be a kid. So these are a lot of the tips that I have found. Hopefully they can help you in some way, or you might find something from this. I would love comments and suggestions on future videos. I'm going to do a series on attention deficit because that is something that my little ones, I guess you could say, it's a challenge and it's a gift at the same time. So I'll talk about how it can be both. And I enjoy everybody. I appreciate everybody. Take care, like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.